Welcome to my Learn English YouTube channel. Before we begin today's session, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more valuable content like this.
All right, diving right in today. We're tackling basic English conversation.
Ooh, sounds deceptively simple.
Right. It's one of those things that you don't realize how much is going on beneath the surface.
Until you really, break it down.
Exactly. So our listeners sent in this YouTube video. It's meant for beginners.
Okay.
And it's full of, like those classic phrases you learn when you're first starting out.
Hello, how are you? Yeah.
But I thought it'd be fun to kind of dissect it together and see what we can learn about, like the strategy and the cultural nuances that are packed into even these really basic exchanges.
I love that. It's like we're going undercover, like linguistic detectives.
Totally. Okay, so the video starts off with, of course, greetings and introductions.
All right.
So we see the classics, good morning, good afternoon.
God have them.
But what I thought was interesting was how much emphasis there was on thank you. And even encouraging responses like, and you.
Oh, that's such a good point. It's like a tiny little lesson in politeness right there.
Right. Like a little mini etiquette course built right into the basics.
Totally.
And I noticed that kind of continued as the video moved into asking for personal information. You get, what's your name? Where are you from? But again, that same emphasis on reciprocity. Like the video actually gives you a few different ways to ask. And what about you?
I like that because it gives the learner options, right? Like they can kind of choose what feels comfortable for them.
Yeah, it's like a little toolkit for navigating those first few exchanges.
Exactly. And it's interesting because this is also where the video starts to touch upon some of the cultural sensitivity around age.
Ooh, interesting.
Like in some cultures, it's totally normal to ask someone's age right away.
Right.
But in others, it can be like, whoa, TMI, back up a little.
It's like a little too personal too fast.
Exactly. It's a good reminder that what might seem like an innocent question in one context can be totally different in another.
Yeah, that makes you realize how much cultural awareness plays into these seemingly simple conversations.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got greetings, introductions. We're even starting to get into some personal info.
Yeah.
The video then kind of goes into family and interests. So questions like, do you have any siblings? Do you like to travel? And I was really struck by how many of these questions were open-ended.
Oh, open-ended questions are gold. I mean, for so many reasons.
Right. Like, tell me why you love them.
Well, first of all, they encourage the other person to share more than just like a yes or no answer, right? So it gives you more to work with.
It's like you're inviting them to tell a story.
Exactly. And it shows that you're genuinely interested in what they have to say.
Yeah, and it gives you more opportunity to find that common ground.
Right. It's not just about like extracting information. It's about building a connection.
Totally. And it was interesting how the video used phrases like, what's yours?
Like as a shortcut for what is your favorite?
Yeah. It's like it's reflecting how people actually talk, right?
Yeah.
It's not always these perfectly grammatically correct sentences.
Exactly. People take shortcuts, they use slang, and that's what makes language feel natural and authentic.
Okay, so we've covered greetings, introductions, a bit about family, and I'm curious to see how the video tackles some of those classic conversation topics like food and hobbies.
Right. The good stuff.
Yeah. So what stood out to you there?
Well, I liked how the video didn't just give you like a list of questions like, what's your favorite food? It actually gave you different ways to express your preferences.
Oh, like different levels of enthusiasm?
Exactly. You know, you could say, I love, I really like, I enjoy. So it's expanding your vocabulary and also giving you options for how you want to come across.
Yeah, it's like teaching you how to be a little more subtle with your language, right?
Exactly. It's giving you the tools to navigate those social situations with more, nuance.
So it's not just about what you say, but how you say it.
Precisely.
I also noticed that the video kind of jumped around a bit between topics.
Oh, yeah, it did.
Like it went from food to pets to weekend activities. It wasn't this really rigid, step-by-step structure.
Right. It felt more organic.
Yeah, it felt like it was mirroring how conversations actually flow in real life, right?
Exactly. Conversations don't, usually follow this linear path.
No, they're kind of messy and unpredictable.
Right. And I think the video did a good job of reflecting that.
Yeah, it's not just teaching you phrases, it's teaching you the art of conversation.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay, before we move on, I am curious to hear your thoughts on how the video introduces questions about languages and culture.
Okay, yeah. I really liked how it included questions like, can you speak any other languages? And even, have you ever been to another country? And Those questions not only allow the person to share their experiences, but they also introduce the past tense.
Oh, right. Sneaking in a little grammar lesson.
Exactly. Which is, super important for beginners.
Yeah. And I noticed that travel seemed to be a recurring theme throughout the video.
It makes sense, right? Travel is something that almost everyone can connect with.
Yeah, it's like a universal language in itself.
It is. It lets people share stories, learn about different cultures, and, dream about future adventures.
And it's a great conversation starter.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this first section of the video.
Here we have.
Greetings, introductions, personal info, family, hobbies, even a little bit about languages and travel.
It's amazing how much is packed into these, seemingly simple exchanges, right?
It's like each phrase is a little portal to a whole world of communication.
It is.
And remember, we're just getting started. In the next part of our deep dive, we'll explore how the video tackles those all-important weekend activities, daily routines, and of course, those closing phrases that leave a lasting impression.
I can't wait. So, picking up where we left off the video goes into weekend activities and daily routines.
Oh, yeah. That's where it starts to get into those, lifestyle questions.
Exactly. It starts with that classic, what do you usually do on weekends?
It's like the go-to small talk question, right?
It is, but then, the video throws in some fun ones.
Oh, yeah, like morning person or night owl.
Yes, and hot or cold drinks. I love those.
Me too.
Mm.
It's like, yeah, you get a little glimpse into someone's personality.
Totally. And those little details, they can spark all sorts of interesting conversations.
Yeah, totally. I'm curious, though, about the weekend activities question. Because I feel like depending on where you are in the world, that answer could be so different.
Oh, absolutely. The whole concept of a weekend, like what you do, how much you work, it can vary hugely from culture to culture.
Yeah. Like in some places, weekends are for family time.
Right.
And in others, it's like everyone's still working or, doing community activities.
Yeah, it's fascinating how those cultural norms kind of sneak into these everyday conversations.
Like you said earlier, it's all about that cultural awareness.
Huge.
Okay, so we're getting into those personal preferences, weekend routines.
Yeah.
And then the video kind of shifts gears a bit, right?
Okay.
It gets into closing phrases and farewells.
Ah, yes. The art of saying goodbye.
It is an art, isn't it?
It is. It's like, how do you end the conversation on a good note and leave a positive impression?
It's like that final, bow after a performance.
Exactly. And the video gives a bunch of different options like, it was nice talking to you. I hope we can talk again soon. Even things like, have a wonderful day or take care, adding a touch of warmth.
It's funny because those closing phrases seem so basic, but they actually make a big difference, right?
They do. They can totally shape how someone remembers the interaction.
Exactly. Like, do they feel heard? Do they feel respected?
Exactly. It's like, did you just exchange information or did you actually make a connection?
And sometimes those little phrases at the end can be what makes that difference.
For sure.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground with this video, from hello to goodbye. And it's not just like a list of phrases. It's almost like a framework for understanding how conversations actually work.
It's like a blueprint.
Yeah. Like it reveals those unspoken rules, the etiquette, the rhythm of back and forth.
It's like a dance, right?
Yeah.
You got to know the steps.
So how do you think, someone listening to this can actually use these insights?
Well, I think the big takeaway is that, even basic conversation has all this nuance.
Right.
It's not just about memorizing words. It's about understanding the strategy and the cultural context.
Yeah. It's like you did before becoming a linguistic detective.
Exactly. Pay attention to those details and suddenly you're not just speaking English, you're really communicating.
You're connecting with people on a deeper level.
Exactly.
Okay, so before we wrap up this section, I want to try a little thought experiment.
Oh, I love thought experiments. Let's do it.
Okay, so imagine you're at a party or maybe like a networking event.
Okay, I'm there.
And you see someone you really want to talk to.
Uh-huh.
But you're, maybe a little nervous, a little shy.
Been there.
What are 3 questions from this video that you could use to just break the ice and start a conversation?
Ooh. Okay, that's good. Well, I definitely start with the classic, hello, how are you?
Solid start.
Yeah, sets a friendly tone. And then maybe something open-ended like, what do you like to do in your free time?
Get them talking about something they enjoy?
Exactly. And, if I'm feeling brave, maybe I throw in a, have you ever been to, and then mention a place I'm curious about.
Oh, I love that. It's an invitation to share travel stories.
It is. And you never know, it could lead to all sorts of interesting conversations.
Exactly. It all starts with those simple questions.
The building blocks of connection.
You know what's funny? When I think about this video and like how much we've talked about it, it's kind of like those magic eye posters, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Like at first you just see like a jumble of colors and dots.
Right.
And then suddenly, bam, like a 3D image pops out.
I love that. It's true, like at first glance, basic conversation seems so simple, but there's so much depth there, what we've been saying.
And that's what I hope, our listeners are getting from this deep dive.
Yeah.
Like it's not just about learning, hello, how are you?
Right.
It's about understanding all those layers, all that unspoken stuff.
It's like, you're cracking the code of communication.
Exactly.
Right.
And the best part is you don't have to be like a language whiz to do it.
No. This video is proof that even with, a few basic phrases, you can really unlock the power of conversation.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's about the intention behind the words.
Exactly.
Like that genuine desire to connect with someone.
To really listen and engage.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive on basic English conversation, I want to leave you with one final thought.
Okay, I'm ready.
Think about someone, anyone, that you would love to have a conversation with. Maybe someone you admire or someone you just met, or even, someone you've known for years but want to connect with on a deeper level.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Imagine using all those tools we've talked about today. Like those open-ended questions, those ways of expressing genuine interest, that back and forth rhythm we were talking about.
That conversational dance.
Yeah. How could you use those things to have a conversation that's not just polite, but actually meaningful?
Ooh, that's good.
Like what stories could you unlock? What kind of connections could you make?
I love that. It's like you're giving our listeners a little mission,
Yeah, because every conversation is a chance to learn something new.
To expand your world.
Exactly. So thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you've enjoyed it and learned something new. Until next time, keep diving deep and keep those conversations flowing.
And remember, never underestimate the power of a simple hello